I think it works better with the microphone on. Hello, this is SP from Better Podcasting and GonnaGeek.com. Welcome to my editing walkthrough videos that I stream live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Stargate Pioneer. And also I put them available on YouTube, but you can find me at Stargate Pioneer on Twitter. And you can also find me at Stargate Pioneer at GonnaGeek.com via email. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and send them in. Now, I'm in the middle of editing Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. 261, episode number 261, and I have been on Vegas Movie Studio 15.0 Platinum. And we're just going to take a little break from that in this video and go over some listener questions because I got a very thoughtful and lengthy video or email from Kent. So I'm going to try to answer as much of Kent's questions as I can and make sure he gets a link to this video. So he starts off by saying, SP, I've been watching your 2 edits of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Vegas Movie Studio. It is great. I learned by both doing, but also by seeing. Thank you. I have a few questions. Number 1, why don't you have multiple videos? In other words, how is the video switching between the co-hosts versus having 3 video streams in which you would have to manually select one? In Vegas Movie Studio, what I have noticed is if you create a new video track, and let me switch to that right now. So this is my edit of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 261. But if I would select another video track, so this is a new video track, and I would put something, say, my logo over a portion of the track, watch the video preview in the upper right-hand side of the screen and see what happens as I come into that.
Flash. So Spider-Man and Flash were definitely the two big ones.
And of course other things like ooh, wow. No idea. Oh, yeah. I got to mute everything. No wonder. I unmuted everything when I selected all the tracks at the end of the last video. So here we go.
Oh, and Flash. So Spider-Man and Flash were definitely the two big ones. And of course, other things like fairies and goblins and demons and stuff like that. But so I asked.
So if you had multiple tracks, what you would do is you would select the top one would be the one that you'd want to keep. This happens if I want to put the Gonna Geek bump in or the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't have either in the template here, but there's a Gonna Geek watermark that we have. You actually see it on the video because I have actually it's part of the layout that I have in when I recorded this in OBS. So I don't have to add the watermark, but if you wanted to add a watermark, you can add stuff. And matter of fact, I will just go into this right here again, and then I'll right click, and then I will select Event Pan Crop. That will bring up this, and you can actually make it smaller. Say you just wanted to watermark it with a copy of this. So you can, I'm using the wheel to scroll in and out to make it bigger or smaller, but say I just wanted to put it in the bottom right hand side of my video, and you can kind of see it moving real time over to the right, right there. So, and then I will close this, and boom, I've created an overlay with a watermark or a logo on my video. So that's how you can do that versus creating the overlay on either XSplit or OBS Studio when recording. So that's a couple of questions there. And that's how multiple tracks work. Now, if I was doing something like Steven does on the GonnaGeek.com show or the Better Podcasting show, what he does is he has separate, and I'll just bring, I don't know how this is going to work without me having a huge mirror effect. So let's just try it really quick. I'm going to bring over my split screen from my screen to the right. And you can see how it's actually laid out. Pay no attention to the mirror effect. That's just going on to infinity. But what I can do is I can go back and forth between my, let's make sure we straighten out the, there we go. Straighten out the little microphone tag there. And this is the training display. And I can take it into, see, I can switch back and forth with scenes on the bottom right-hand side. And that's how I do that. And that is how Steven does it as well on Gonna Geek and Better Podcasting. And in OBS, it's very similar. You have scenes that you can switch back and forth. It's not as easy as this. It's actually a list that you have to flip back and forth to. And like when I'm doing a Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. production with OBS Studio, I actually have it sequentially layered out, even if I'm doing the same scene, so I don't have to scroll back up to it up on top of the list. So I just take the scene one at a time and then scroll as I am actually doing the podcast. I wouldn't have to do that here. I have enough scenes, presets that I could just make down here with the appropriate overlays and make that happen. So I'm gonna bring this back over to the side here really quick. And there you go. You didn't see any of that, did you? Because you were just looking at me. Okay. No, you know what? It is. Oh, you are seeing me. So here is the scenes on the bottom right-hand side. And then with OBS Studio, it's a list that goes on down. All right. So we get rid of the mirror effect, move that over. So the question goes on. In other words, how's the video switching between the co-host versus having 3 video streams? So Steven has different scenes, and he uses NDI to actually capture the individual Skype sessions that are coming in. And those are just video sources. And you can combine different video sources and overlays into each one of those scenes. So that's how Steven does it. And he produces on the fly. So you're not actually recording the different scenes. You're only recording the one scene, and it's whatever you're switching to. So with Gonna Geek and Better Podcasting, we've become very adept at knowing when Steven is switching and knowing when we can talk or when we have to stop or start over or something like that. And my Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. crew could figure it out, I'm sure, but we just haven't made it to that level yet. Mostly, again, because my bandwidth on my end would not allow going out to multiple different 1080 streams. At least not yet. We're hoping within the next year to make that possible. Might have to get a bigger video card to do that production as well. All right, so the next question is, I've never understood how a Zoom, H586, etc., gets into the computer, or more specifically, Vegas Movie Studio. Can you help me understand how to make that connection? As part of that question, is it different for their Zoom recorder than for yours, since yours is near your computer? A number of Better Podcasting episodes ago, there was a reference to a new wiring diagram that might help me understand how it all fits together, but I couldn't get the link to work. Tell you what, I will work with Steven on that link because he set up that link. I did notice that it stopped working. I didn't know that anybody else was actually looking for it, so I hadn't made it a priority. I'll make sure that Steven gets the hint and fixes that short link. In the meantime, I will post a link down below to where you can actually get it. It's actually a Twitter tweet that I did from my personal account. But for the sake of argument, I'm going to go ahead and find it in all of my files right now. I should have had that preloaded, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to find it here and I'm going to show it on the screen just so you know what I'm talking about. And I believe talking the gear stuff should be Geek Podcasting here. Yes, this is me being not prepared. You know what? I can just go to Twitter. That's what I will do, and do media on Twitter, on my Twitter feed. And that way, everybody will know where they can find it. On my Twitter feed, go into my profile, into my media, and then scrolling down, past several. This is kind of funny, actually. 7th. Oh, I could have swore it was on my feed here. Oh, there we go. September 15th, 2018. Pop that over. Bring it on over here. So that's what the tweet said. I promised to redo my podcasting studio diagram years ago. Finally took some time to knock it out today. So I will double click that. Click that. Make it a little bit bigger. And you can go ahead and look into this. So how I get into my Zoom, and I will just push me off to the side a little bit. There you go. So you can see this. how I get into my Zoom is I go into the board, the Mackie board, into channel 2. That's where my microphone is going right now. So it's this microphone. It's the Electro Voice RE320. It's going into a DBX 286S and then into the line input of channel 2. Now I have it set up so it is going into channel 1 of the Zoom H6, which if you backtrack it, it's coming out of this, which I believe is the UGS or Monsend 1. And it is the only thing that is selected. And I've selected it via here, this knob I've turned up to unity. And then this knob over here, which is the total of everything, I've also selected that up to, actually it's only up to about 30% right there. And all of the other Monsend channels are zeroed out. So it's all exactly like it is on this diagram, all towards the bottom left. And this one's at unity, which means straight up. And this one, which is all the channels together, is at about a third. Then it goes out via TRS, this, which is the output that's controlled by that knob there, and into channel 1. Channel 2 is basically what I'm hearing from the other side. So that's coming in from the headphones out. So the headphones out goes into this splitter right here. And then this splitter sends a line over to the channel 2 of the H6 through this line right here. So that's how I'm getting everybody else. And then my soundboard, that's a little bit complicated, but the soundboard is down here. I'm making sure that is the correct soundboard. Nope, sound deck's over here. I'm sorry, that's where I was streaming out to with, what was that called? Through Twitter and, not Pandora, but I'll think of it later. Anyway, I'm not doing that at the moment because it kept on shutting off. So I'm playing the soundboards through this iPad Mini 2, 32 gigabytes. So it's not that incredibly powerful, but it runs Boss Jock Studio and I have all the bumps set up on it. And it goes into this DI or direct injection box. And that goes into this splitter, which is my, my compressor. And then it goes out of the compressor as one of the splits all the way into channel 4. So I can actually not control the volume of this channel 4 through the mixer. I have to do that actually on the soundboard itself when I use it in this configuration. So that's how I'm able to get the 3 channels on the Zoom H6, channel 1, channel 2, channel 6. Sure, you have a lot of other questions. You did ask how the ladies get their audio in. And they have slightly different setups. Lauren has a similar setup with the Pro FX8 V2, and she does the same thing. She goes out from her Shure SM7B into a DBX286S into channel 3 now. She's losing channels left and right, and she does the same thing with a Monsend out into the Zoom H5. I don't think she does the same thing that I do and goes the phones out into the recorder, which is why sometimes her audio has been a little messed up because she's not actually monitoring from the recorder. In her case, this is a Zoom H5. She's monitoring from the board, and all she would need to do was take the board out and throw it into one of the inputs of the H5. There is a 3.5 millimeter input that she could do, or she could do the same thing that I'm doing, and to make that happen. Haley, she has a Behringer 1666, and I believe she does the same thing with hers. She actually used to produce podcasts on her own with Crimson Comment. So that's how she would do it, is the same sort of thing. Take her microphone into the board and then a AUG send out or a Mon send and into her H5, and the same thing with the headphones. Now, Michelle has a Behringer, I can't remember the model. I want to say it's a UM2, or 22. I'm not sure of the exact model, but she goes into her audio interface. Actually, her microphone, which is a Sennheiser MD46 that she's using right now, she goes into the DBX286S. She goes into the audio interface, and then the same thing. So that's how she is able to get her audio separate. And as you will notice, none of this is actually going through the computer. It's going through some sort of a mixer or audio interface. It's not actually going through the computer. Now, the audio coming in is coming in from the computer. It's coming in via a USB. And that's what this little button is meant to say, is that these channels on the Mackie Pro FX16V2 can control everything that you need to control with that button selected with the USB that is coming in. And I'm trying to look. Okay, so yes, my computer, my main computer, which is an HP gaming desktop, is connected via USB into the mixer, and everybody else is connected via USB into their mixers as well on my show. You can go out via any of the outputs, and then you can go into either a 3.5 millimeter microphone input into your computer, or you can get an external USB sound card like the Griffin iMic, and you can plug it in that way. You might need some ground loop isolators. Like this is a little picture of the ground loop isolator over there. So that's how you can do it. So I hope that has helped you understand the connection that I have and how I make it work. Steven has a little bit different connection that he makes work that way as well. All right, so on to the next question. For large sections, Michelle and or Haley do not talk, but occasionally have sound coming from their audio stream. I do not hear it, but sometimes you do, or sometimes you don't. But as you taught me, I see it in the green bars of the meters to the left of the track. My question is, why don't you take out huge sections of their audio, I think is what he meant, when they are not speaking? You can do that. And as a matter of fact, if you are dealing with issues like I was, and I can't remember which podcast it was, but like Haley had like laundry noise going out in the back. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Before I started editing, Haley doesn't have a track here, but let's just say it's Michelle had laundry going. What I would do is I would see wherever they were, and I would zoom in and I would like cut the track right there. Then I would go, and I need to put my face back where it belongs. And you can cut right there, and that would take out that whole piece of the track. So that's definitely a way you could do it. Most of the times I run a noise gate as well as the denoiser onto each track. Let's just open up Michelle's Track FX right now. You can see there's a dialogue denoiser. In Audacity, it is noise reduction that you can do. And then I run a noise gate with after I've compressed the file at about -30, and that takes care of just about anything that's down there except for big bumps and clicks and stuff like that. So I just take out what's there, what I notice, what needs to come out, and leave everything else, because with the denoiser on the track and the noise gate, there is no reason to take out the rest of the track. Another reason that you might be forced into that is if you're having extreme sync problems. And it's a lot of time when you have to deal with that. If you cut out large pieces of audio and then have to move around for each time the person speaks to sync it up with the video, it just takes a while. So that is why I don't take it out, because it's unnecessary work to take it out. Question number 4. Sometimes, at least in the video version, you are keeping filler or duplicate words so that a wordless moving mouth is not seen. Is there a way to keep the sound for those unwanted sections but lower its volume and therefore the attention to those words? Yeah, you can do that. I've shown it several times before, how you can take the sound completely off, but you can also minimize the sound. So let's just, for example, I'm speaking here. So what am I saying at the end? I have no idea.
To take care of it.
Take care of it. All right, just say I want to get rid of take care of it.
Care of it.
I will cut the track right there. I'll cut it over here because I'm sure I'm done saying whatever I'm saying.
Care of it.
Yep. And then this little bar actually is a slider of gain for that particular section. So I can take this down 9 dB, which is 3 amplitudes less. And actually, I don't know how to get it exact because I don't know how to actually cut in. Maybe a right click. Nope. So I'm not sure how to get that exact, but I can via slider go up and down. Actually, if I made the track bigger, I could probably do that a little bit more fine resolution. But this is what it sounds like with the volume down by a factor of 3.
Told him to take care of it.
So it's a little less, and I can go even more down.
Told him to take care of it.
To take care of it. Instead of to take care of it, to take care of it. So that's how you would do it. I'm going to undo all that because I'm probably sure in the final edit I'd want to say to take care of it in there. So that's how you would reduce the volume of unwanted words. It's definitely a way to do it. It is more time to deal with it than it is just to cut it out. Question number 5. What are the things that look like musical full rests? I'm not quite sure what you're talking about that. Musical full rests. I'm a musician. Know what a musical full rest looks like. Oh, you know what? It's probably exactly what we were talking about, right? Right here. So you pull that up and down and it's the gain. And for the video, by the way, it's how opaque it is or how dark it is. So it works in video and audio. It's basically how bright the either audio or video is. So good question there. Question number 6. The tracks for Haley and Michelle are too small. Is that because they recorded too softly? Can you change how that looks in the software so you don't have to be looking all the way to the left at the green bar meters? Can you suggest that they make changes to their recording in the future to make the visual issue as well as the sound issue of there is one go away? All right, I didn't understand the end of that question there. Maybe I read it wrong, but I can definitely answer. Why is their tracks too small? And I'll just pan out here. For instance, we'll look at Michelle's. Yeah, it's because they recorded too small on their end. What they need to do is to make sure that the level, it's kind of tricky because you're dealing with 2 output levels. You're dealing with the output level to the connection, whether it's Skype or YouTube, Hangouts on Air, Discord, wherever. That is your output from your computer, and your audio chain from your microphone to your computer. If you're talking to somebody else, that's important to get right. So that's number 1. And number 2, as you saw in my setup before with the wiring diagram, now you're dealing with the additional outs. And I will bring up that wiring diagram again. You're dealing with the additional out. So basically it's the main out that's going back via USB to my computer that the ladies are hearing. But for the recorder, what that's hearing is this. So yes, what they would need to do is go in and modify to get loud enough signal without pumping too much static in through the gain meter. In my case, channel 2 would be right here. It would be the aux send gain right there. And then the total channel gain over here. And then that goes out to the Zoom H6, and there's even another gain. And this gets into something called gain staging. You'll kind of want to minimize the gain further down the line because it will just amplify any mistakes or line noise that's in there. So you want to make sure the gain or the volume is higher as early in the process as possible. So then you're just kind of either maintaining or stepping down the gain as it goes into the computer. And another thing you don't want is clipping either. So you gotta have to balance the two. You want as hot a signal into the recorder as you can get without line noise or clipping. So that is what you would need to do there to get them from recording softly to more loudly. Can you change how that looks in the software? So what I could do is I could pre-load her track into, say, Audacity, or maybe even a different version of, or a different session of Movie Studio. And I would apply the Gmax gain and then export that file into Movie Studio. So it's a better track to work with in terms of gain. But then I'm gain staging in post-processing, and basically I'll be running some sort of Gmax or gain addition twice. And I prefer to only do that once if possible, or as minimal as possible. So for that standpoint, I'm only running it once on the track once it's in Movie Studio. And that's actually a benefit of using Movie Studio, is it runs all the, when I render it, it runs all the effects at the same time. So I don't have to worry about rendering something in Audacity and like Gmax, and then rendering a noise gate, and then it all takes time. Well, all that time is now mitigated by running all the effects simultaneously here. So optimally, it would be getting a higher gain recording from the ladies, but again, I don't want noise coming through either. So it's a balancing act. We'll just go on to the next question. Hopefully I've answered that. Number 7, I have no idea what the last soundboard track is or what it's used for. I think what you're talking about is this, the soundboard. I'm going to pan out here. Actually, I need to delete that. So this is me recording the sounds. Since this is a live show, this is me recording the sounds as we're playing it. So for instance, right here, we'll back up a second. Some new applications. Now let's get on to the news.
Well, we have some news items.
So that was the bump that I was playing from the soundboard at the same time that I had switched the scene to the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. logo, basically a commercial break in between the segments. So what this allows is so that I can play the sounds on a separate track and not impede the rest of the recording. Great example of this is at the end. So as we're getting out, I'm playing the background music.
Oh.
See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
So I don't know when this starts. Let's just say peace. Until next time. Flipping the switches. So I started the track somewhere around there, and it just builds and builds and builds until it gets about here. So all that time, I'll just highlight the session right here. All this time, I could not edit a single bit of dialogue as we get out. If I had recorded that in with either me or everybody together. So what this allows is to have those intro, outro, or segment bumps on a separate track. So I can go in and edit anything I want to in here and then add the sound on top of it. When I render this for the audio only version edit in Audacity, what I've done is I've taken out these soundboard tracks, the soundboard intro and outro, that's gone. So I'm only left with the dialogue, and then I reinsert the bumps and the intro and outro in those spots in Audacity. I can clearly see where it is because it's like empty space, it's silence. So I can just go in and add it in. No big deal. That allows me to do stuff like truncate silence, take out some more of the dialogue that I couldn't take out because people's mouths were moving, crutch words and stuff like that. So it is a way to do it, but then I don't have to process any of the tracks in Audacity. It's just simply doing minor edits, and it just goes a lot faster that way. So that's what that track is used for. Question number 8. There were often large gaps of around 3 to 6 seconds without anybody saying anything. Why don't you cut that down to 2 seconds or so? Well, in order to do that, and let's just pretend that this place right here, which is, let's see. Wow, it's 4 seconds. So right there's a great example.
Our beautiful faces.
Okay. Yeah. So the problem here, if I wanted to cut that down to say 3 seconds, so it's a 4 second gap. I wanted to cut it down to just 1 second gap in between there. I talked on another, I don't know what stream it was, about how to get it down to 0.85 seconds. It's probably one of the Audacity tutorials. You don't want to truncate silence depending on the tempo and the pacing of your podcast, you don't want to silence that or truncate that any less than 0.85 seconds for my show right here. 0.85 seconds is good. I tried 0.75, that was too short. I tried 1 that was too long. So for my show here with 3 or 4 hosts, 0.85 works great. But let's just say I wanted to take out the 3 seconds. If I would do that, if I would take out 3 seconds, let's just do that right here. Boom. Take this out right here. Boom. Oh, you know what? There's an easier way. That's the easier way. And then I'll do a great thing. I will select all after cursor and then just move it in. This is what it looks like then.
to watch our beautiful faces.
And did you notice when her head turned just a little bit at the break? I'll play it one more time for you.
To watch our beautiful faces.
And they are indeed beautiful. Well, so the way that the switching works on YouTube is that I am not on the camera until, well, actually I am in this particular case. I don't know how that worked. Probably because it instantly heard me. Oh, that's why. Because I've had to right shift it so far over. All right. That usually doesn't happen. Usually it's after I start talking, it switches over to me. That's because I'm using the automatic switching on YouTube. But you did see the hard pan of her. So if it's just one person, like they're silent, like Lauren does this from time to time where she's silent for like 10, 15 seconds or something like that. We've learned to let her talk and not interrupt her, because if we do interrupt her, she keeps on with her train of thought, and then it ends up being an overspeak back and forth and, oh, I'm sorry. And we just let her go, but it's her the entire time. And there is no switch over to somebody new. So, and it turns out to be a hard edit cut, or a hard video edit cut. I don't like those. So that's why it's a preference of mine. I know a lot of YouTubers like to do those hard cuts to get rid of silence like that. Personally, I don't think that's how I want to watch video. I want to be jarred when I'm watching the video. I guess the new generation that's watching YouTube now might be a little bit different, but that is the answer to that question. And Kent, you went on to ask number 9, if you refer to bumps and bump tracks, what are they? Similarly, what is rendering? All right, so we talked about the bumps in the soundboard down here. So the bumps is just like the intermission or the commercial in between the segments, but you can use them as soundboards, or like sound carts, like a clown laughing, or a bell ringing or something like that. That could be done throughout your entire track if you're doing sound effects in there. So basically a bump is a sound effect. In rendering, though, rendering is when I go, we'll just do this here. I don't think I've shown this here now, but I'm going to make a movie. I'm going to save it to my hard drive. And let's say I'm just going to render this whole thing. I've put some presets together. We can discuss that another time. I don't want to render any loops. I just want to render the whole thing. And I've selected all the tracks that I want to render. Basically, this would be my video edit final, or my video final. And then I would click render. I'm going to stop this, but I'm going to render it right now. And then it's just going to render. And it's like an hour and 2 minutes. I'm guessing this render will be somewhere between 55 minutes and an hour 20. Just guessing. So I'm not going to run it the whole time, but it's actually rendering, or creating, or saving would be a better way to say it if you're not familiar with rendering. It's basically saving the edited, compiled video. I'm just going to cancel this because I'm not going to waste all that time on this stream here. Now, question number 10, and the final question is, at the end, do you have to combine all of the separate tracks, or can just say separate? If the tracks can remain separate, can you replace the YouTube or RSS for audio at a later date with something like a different intro, such as a new theme music or promo for somebody else's podcast? Or is it when you are done with an episode, you never come back and change it? I can tell you, okay, so a lot of questions there. All these tracks become one track in the end. This video, I believe, renders in stereo, but it's mono when it comes out, because I don't have any stereo. As you can see, there are no stereo tracks here. It's all mono. So it comes out as one track, one mono track, or one stereo track, depending on how you render. And that's the video. When I render as an audio, what I'll do is save to my hard drive, advanced options. I'll go up to FLAC, and I will choose 44.1 16-bit, and I will render the entire thing. Again, this is going to take a while because of the effects. Actually, I don't have the declicker chosen, so this will not take that long, but it's still too long to run for this video. So I'll render that. I'll end up with a FLAC file when I get out of it. Excuse me. Didn't mean to cough into the microphone. I would edit that out in post, by the way. So it would end up as a FLAC file. I would input that FLAC file into Audacity, and then I will do the final Audacity edit. And I will render or save that again, or export, I believe it's called in Audacity, as an MP or as a WAV file. Then I would take that WAV file, which I could either do here or I go into iTunes. It's just habit at this point. Import it into iTunes and then export it as an MP3 so I can use the Fraunhofer MP3 encoder versus the lame MP3 encoder that Audacity uses. And so that's how I get the file from here to there. And yes, at any point in time, I keep all these raw editing files. At any point in time, I can come back and change the music. I can change what people say, or, segments. I can take segments out. For a while there, I was actually editing little short promos. So I could select a spot, just render that, and then I'd send that out as a promo. So there's a bunch of different things you can do. You can render little bits. You can render the whole thing. And once you've rendered the whole thing and you want to add several other videos to it, you can stick that rendered file into another editing file of Movie Studio and put some other files into it. Happens all the time with Audacity, with audio only as well. I don't know if I've answered your questions or not. Hopefully I have, Kent. So if you need further clarification, please let me know. You can send me an email like you did at stargatepioneer@gonnageek.com. You can catch me on Twitter at Stargate Pioneer, or you can comment on this video below on the YouTube, and please leave a time code for exactly what you're talking about, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks, Kent. Hope this has been helpful, and if anybody else has any questions, please let me know. Thanks. See you guys later. Bye.